I wanted to do a video on emotions and regulation of emotions. Okay, so here we go. So, emotional regulation is very important, critical, critical in life to be able to regulate your emotions. So, what do I mean by that? Um, so, emotional regulation is the ability, the process in which somebody is going to moderate, regulate, um, control, and manage their emotions. Okay, so what I have one of the things I have is BPD. Okay, now what BPD is emotional irregulation disorder. It's another be the type of people who can go from 0 to 100 real quick, or we might like flash out of nowhere. Like out of nowhere, like a lot of times it gets confused with bipolar because you know that you might flash right away or out of nowhere for no reason. You might have raging issues where you're screaming all the time, you're mad all the time. Um, you might be crying all the time. Some people might tell you all the time, like, oh, you cry too much. Or you act like you don't have any emotions all the time. Um, you're just very wishy-washy, flip-floppy. Can get an attitude real quick, out of nowhere. Now, borderline personality disorder, just like other disorders, is created from trauma. So from the age of 0 to 3-ish, I mean, you can push it to, you can technically say 7, but by the age of 3 or 4, a child's brain is pretty much chosen certain directions based off of the environment and the security that that child felt. That's going to kind of dictate their life for the rest of their life. How, how they view things and what personality that they're going to latch onto and to own. Because, to my understanding, pretty much everyone is born, very receptive, with a lot of their brain open, possibility, and what happens is when you're a child, and I forgot we have fireworks to do. When you're a child and you are that young and you can't fend for yourself, you can't even walk or move. Like if you're a baby, like if your parents were, you know, neglectful or being, you know, we don't know how to do this shit. That's the hardest time for us as parents is those first years. You make a lot of mistakes in the beginning, you know. And so it's kind of an ironic situation, but those are the most crucial years for a brain's development when it comes to your personality and psychology, your psychological makeup, right? So it's really important to recognize your emotional well-being, so that you can moderate, and manage and control your behavior. If you are a flasher, somebody gets pissed off right away, somebody who goes 0 to 100, 100 to 0, you're picking a fight, next you're a lovey-dovey, like, hey baby, I got you this, like nothing ever happened. If you can switch moods very, very quickly, you feel like you're transitioning through a lot of different moods throughout one day. Like if you're just on an emotional roller coaster, it's very important for you to get these things in control. Now, I did pull cards for you guys. Um, And I want to say before I even do the cards, it is okay to step back and to reflect and to reevaluate yourself. It's actually necessary and required for success and for growth. So don't feel as if, you know, certain needed things that may need to be done for you to level up. If it is something that maybe you should have mastered already, or it's something that you feel, you know, would make you look bad in any kind of way, or would make you look like you failed, you need to shake that shit because you're standing in your own. It doesn't matter what anyone says. It doesn't matter, what anyone's opinion is. It doesn't matter how many times you've fucked up before. It doesn't matter. You're worthy of that opportunity. Our God is a good God, and He gives us true unconditional love. He doesn't send us to hell. We can get it right. It's our choice. You can choose to be in hell on earth if you'd like, but that's a choice. Everything is changing the perspective. No matter what, if you change your perspective, you will change your life. Good or bad, however you want to see that. If you're really successful and then all of a sudden, things happen and everything starts to fall apart and you go into a very negative state of mentality, you're going to assure that these failures continue to happen to you. Another thing, though, is, of course, understanding all of the technicalities and the things that play a part in psychology and mental illnesses, in the United States, in healthcare, in psychology, in metaphysics, So this is on a very surface level, which I'm talking. I won't get into how all of this came about. But it's really important for us and for our well-being that we moderate those things, because that's going to cause, health issues and shit. So a lot of times, once, our insecure mind as a child feels like it wasn't properly taken care of or whatever, it's always going to have this sense of dis-ease, and always be on panic or alert mode. And you have to retrain your brain to process in a healthier way. You can retrain your brain. If this is something that you feel could be beneficial, if you also suffer from like intrusive thoughts or, dialect, not that, that's what it's called. ADHD, I have that too. If you suffer from anything that's really causing you mental stress, I highly recommend dialectic behavioral therapy. You can get workouts, you can do things online. You don't necessarily have to go into therapy, but you must be dedicated. It's very difficult to retrain your brain, and they'll tell you that you can't do it, but you can. Okay, so you have to understand that as your insecure baby brain chooses this path, it's going to pretty much continue on with that path for the rest of your life unless you change it. So it stems all the way back from childhood, and it makes so much more difference than you would probably even accept. But it's true. It's really important that you release things that are holding you back. It's so important. You can ground yourself. Look up grounding yourself online. You can cleanse your home, cleanse your area, cleanse yourself. Pray, meditate, of course, is the number one thing that you must do. Ask for that to be taken from you and be thankful for that being taken. Ask and it shall be done. We are manifestors of our own shit. God's good like that. But you got to take that power and you got to take that ability. And right now it's like, it even plays out into your relationships, into all kinds of relationships, with your family, with your friends, with coworkers, in relationships with, and your spouses and whatever, with your children. And a lot of times what happens is you may be having a bad day, or you may be having anxiety or stress. And when you get overloaded, it's like there are receptors that are not going off. Like it's kind of like just not working, supposedly. Chemical imbalances are not a proof thing, though, so I'm not a believer in chemical imbalances. Personality disorders are learned behaviors. These are things that you have learned, have taught yourself how to do these things out of trying to protect its own self, because that's the only way it could protect, because it's not able to, fend for itself when you're that young. So what happens is we might have devastation or disappointment, something doesn't go our way, and then what's going to happen is that's going to trigger when your emotional balance is not right, with your, how you're processing your emotions. You may really jump the gun and say, they didn't answer 3 times, so they must be cheating, or, and in the back of your head, it then is like it's confirming those insecurities inside of yourself. Oh shit. Sorry guys. So you're like you're like it's like you're encouraging and egging on those insecurities inside of yourself. And once you do that, it's like a continuous downward spiral that you will continue to be in until you get the fuck up. Okay? It's like, it's going to start validating those things as like, I knew they didn't like me. I knew they were cheating on me. I knew I wasn't worth that, and it gives that sense of, sometimes abandonment, insecurities. And then what happens is it then cycles to the point of maladaptive and, self-destructive behaviors. So then, because this didn't happen or this happened this way, to trigger your thoughts to go on a rampage of ridiculousness, self-negative talk, shit talking to yourself, probably blowing up those people's phones, saying a bunch of shit you don't mean, or threats, and blah, blah, blah. Now, you then are triggering next that onset of those maladaptive behaviors. So your maladaptive behaviors are the things that you learn to do to cope with situations in life that are bad ways of coping. So good ways of coping could be, which are adaptive, could be like exercise, reading, maybe taking a nap, depending, unless you do too much. Um, so, but maladaptive things are going to be negative things like self-harm, self-sabotage, lashing out, disassociating, different things like that that we're going to do that are not beneficial for us in order to make ourselves feel better. Okay, so whether it's like drugs, whether it's alcohol, whether it's, abusing other people, whatever the case may be, unbeneficial things. So it's very important that you begin to step back. You have to step back, and you have to step back, and you have to reevaluate yourself, accept what things need to be, look at the truth of yourself so that you can grow, so that you can grow past those things that you don't like about yourself, so that you can work your extra credit for the things that you've done wrong, that you have. And own up to things, and you got to be willing to put in the effort and put in the work and have the dedication, just like you do to all these motherfucking dumbasses in the street that you give a you giving up shit for and taking L's for, and people who do you wrong, you're giving them opportunity, but you're not even fighting for your own self. Don't fall victim to the negative self-talk and the bullshit, because it's not fucking true. You rebuke it in the name of the Lord, and you say, get the fuck out of here, and you're not welcome back. Feel me? That's what you need to do. You run this shit. You can be in control of your mind. Don't let anybody tell you can't, because they're lying to you. You don't need meds, not medication, education. Once you know better, you do better. Do your research. Okay, so I kind of forgot to do the cards. My bad. Okay. So I got authenticity. I got joy, self-love, and get centered. Okay, So, I mean, feel free to, pause and write those things down. But the one that I like the most is this one. So it says, I openly embrace a feeling of self-love, the PG kind. I love myself because I understand myself, and I love myself as the most committed partner I will ever have. I show myself love any way that I can, and when I screw up, I remember to be sweet and gentle with myself. If I am not gonna make myself sleep on the if not, I'm gonna make myself sleep on the couch. Got that self? So yeah, I do feel like, it's important to make sure that you keep yourself grounded and centered, and focused. If you are struggling with regulation issues with your emotions, so that you can really learn how to be your true self in moderation and in the way that is healthy for yourself and for everybody else. But you got to slow down and find that that balance. You're going to be happier. You're going to be happier for sure when you take the time to invest in yourself. And the first step is going to be getting centered, and I feel appreciation as well.